Hello, hello, everybody. How are you guys doing today? Welcome, welcome. I am so glad to be here with you guys. It's Thursday evening, 7 o'clock, and we are doing another Facebook Live stream for you guys to enjoy and learn and take away a lot of information tonight. And this time we are going to chat about hydrochloric acid, stomach acid, and the difference between low and high stomach acid. But before I start, I'm just gonna wait a few more seconds, and please also, I'm gonna put in the comment I am going live with StreamYard. So if you grant StreamYard permission, then I can actually see your name if you choose to post a comment. If you don't, that's fine. If you post a comment, just let me know who is posting it and then I can address you. Okay, guys, so welcome. I hope you guys had a nice day. It was unseasonably warm in Ontario today. It was very, very beautiful, so I can't complain. I'm very happy about that. Let's talk about stomach acid. It's such a big issue in so many people with gut issues. I would say almost everybody who is experiencing gut issues, including any kind of autoimmune disease, any kind of inflammatory response, is actually dealing with low stomach acid. And we're going to go into the nitty gritty, and I'm going to let you guys know why and what you can do, and some tips you can do in order to um, get your stomach acid back up and running. Okay, so hey Kim, yeah, it was really warm here too this week. It was a nice change. I know it's not gonna last, so that is why I'm really embracing it. So anyways, let's get started. Before we go into the whole scientific stuff I want to talk about, I actually want to share with you a poem, a fable, which I really like because it really illustrates how conventional medicine is looking at disease and isolated from the whole body, from the whole perspective, from the bigger picture, looking at just different parts of it all. And then I'm going to tie that in to the hydrochloric acid. So another person just jumped on. Hello, hello. I can't see your name because I'm going live on StreamYard. So you would have to grant permission in order for me to see your name. If not, just leave your name in the comment so I know who is on here and give me a wave and yeah, let me know that you're here. So I'm going to actually recite that fable a little bit. I'm not going to do the whole thing, just a little bit so that you get an idea of what I'm talking about. So let me just pull it up and I will read it to you. Maybe you even know it. I love it because it really illustrates it so nicely. So it's called The Blind Men and the Elephant, and it's a Hindu fable. And I'm just going to recite the first two um, verses, and then I'm just going to go from there. Okay, so it was 6 men of Hindustan. Okay, so 6 men of Hindustan, to learning much inclined, who went to see the elephant, though all of them were blind, that each by observation might satisfy his mind. Okay, so 6 men, they're all blind, and they went to see an elephant to find out what it's all about. Number one. So the first approached the elephant, and happening to fall against his broad and sturdy side, at once began to bawl, God bless me, but the elephant is very like a wall. Okay, so the next one. The second, feeling of the tusk, cried, Oh, what have we here? So very round and smooth and sharp, to me, it's mighty clear. This wonder of an elephant is very like a spear. And so this goes on and on and on. But oh, hey, Sonia, nice to have you on here. So this goes on and on and on, but you get the picture, right? So there's the six men, and they are trying to figure out what an elephant is, and every one of them is touching or falling against a different part, which then explains to them, okay, well, this must be the elephant, and it is because it's part of it, but they're not getting the whole picture. Like they're not seeing the whole elephant, right? And this is what we so often see in conventional medicine, that there's so many specialists and they specialize on certain areas in your body, and they all have a really good reason because they went to medical school and they know the ins and outs of that one piece. However, they oftentimes miss the bigger picture and how it all ties together. And that is exactly the same with hydrochloric acid, with the stomach acid in your stomach. So when you go to see your doctor and you present to your doctor with symptoms of what appear to be high stomach acid, so you have this acid reflux, you have the constant burping after you eat your meal, you have this fire in your stomach after eating. You even feel like the heaviness, the fullness of after eating, it just doesn't go away. It's like your food sits in your stomach like a rock and doesn't seem to move. But mostly because of the acid reflux is then that you go and present yourself to your doctor and say, I have this problem. What can I do? And the doctor looks at it from a perspective of, okay, here is somebody who presents with high stomach acid, so we need to block it, right? So we need to make that symptom go away, and we'll do that by blocking the acid, which makes sense, you would think, right? And you would think, okay, this will solve the problem and I will have no issues anymore from then on forward. However, they are missing the bigger picture. So, oh, hey, Glenda, nice to see you. Good to see you here. Yeah, so they're missing the bigger picture, right? And the bigger picture is that try to investigate why. Why is it? Why do you have the acid reflux? Why do you have the sense of burning and sensation of fullness in your stomach? There must be a reason why, and just simply blocking the acid is not going to help. So before I actually explain what hydrochloric acid is and how it relates, let me just go back to digestion. So last week we talked about digestion, right? So we know it's a long tube and you start at the bottom and it goes all the way down to the bottom. So hydrochloric acid in your stomach is the first area of chemical digestion in your body. Your stomach is super acidic. Your stomach has to be acidic because your stomach is, like I said, the first area of chemical digestion. The food that you're swallowing, the food that you're eating, has to be broken down in smaller and smaller pieces so that your body's able further down the tract to absorb and use these nutrients. So now in your stomach, all those longer parts and chains are being chopped into smaller and smaller pieces. So when you have this protein that has those long chains of amino acids that makes up a protein, it takes a lot of work and digestive fire, I like to call it, to chop up those pieces into smaller molecules. And that is why you need a high acidic area. You also need that high acidic area because you need to break apart minerals, right? Minerals like to cling together because minerals have a charge. So the minerals have a charge, and the hydrochloric acid is needed in order to pull those minerals apart to make them available for your body further down the line to be absorbed into your bloodstream. So it needs to be acidic. So, how is it that we are suffering from low stomach acid? Okay, so stomach acid has two functions. Function number one is just like I just explained to you guys. Function number one is to break apart food and make it readily available for your body to be absorbed, right? Function number two is your stomach is acidic because it is also a guard. It is protecting you from bacteria that are on your food, in your environment, that you on your skin. When you put your fingers in your mouth, you put a trillions of bacteria in your mouth. On your food is our bacteria. So there's a lot of bacteria, a lot of also pathogenic stuff that is coming into your system on a regular basis, which is great, which is good because I mean there is a balance of good and bad bacteria in our system all the time, and it's there for a reason. But if your stomach acid is low, you lose the protectiveness of it because your stomach acid, the high acid, is actually protecting your digestive tract from those bacteria to slide through your stomach area into your intestine, right? The acid is killing pathogenic bacteria that are on your food for you in order to protect you. So now when you have low stomach acid, what happens is that those bacteria that should have been killed or would have been killed by your acid are actually surviving, right? They're sliding through your stomach because it's not acidic enough. And they are starting to set up shop in your duodenum sometimes, oftentimes. So the beginning of your intestinal tract, because your intestinal tract is alkaline, right? So those bacteria now are in there and they're starting to have a party. Like they are having a good time, right? So they slid through the stomach, they're setting up shop in your duodenum, and they're growing and they're proliferating, and they are, growing out of proportion. So much so that, you know, the the metabolites that they're creating, so basically the waste, right? Because they're eating our food, right? So you are feeding your bacteria with the food you're eating. So now they're eating your food and they are having a party, and the waste that they are emitting is in form of gas. And because they're sitting in your upper intestinal tract, the gas goes up, right? So, and the gas goes up and the gas goes out of your mouth. And this is where your burping comes in, right? So, this is where your acid reflux comes in. It's the waste from those bacteria that are proliferating. It's an overgrowth of bad bacteria in your intestines that are starting to create imbalances. And so you see that the acid reflux oftentimes is due to low stomach acid, allowing those bacteria to come in and to set up shop. So now the other function of your hydrochloric acid in your stomach, as you know, as I talked to you about before, is breaking up food. And that is another reason, that's another bigger picture perspective in how it creates imbalance in your body that can lead to dis-ease, like we talked about last week, right? So think about it. Now you have low stomach acid and the food comes in. So the food comes in, but your acid is not at a level where it can actually break down the food into its smaller particles all the way, right? It does it, but not completely. So what happens? Those food particles are now going down the intestine, going down the digestive tract, and they're going into your duodenum, right? So which is the first part of your intestine. And here is where the next step of digestion happens. Here's where your pancreas comes in. And the pancreas is your enzyme producing machine in your body, right? So your pancreas goes in, and your pancreas is spitting out all of those enzymes to break down the fats, the protein, the carbohydrates, all the good stuff. However, if the molecules that are coming down the line are too big, the pancreas gets very easily overwhelmed because there's only a certain amount of enzymes it can create and spit out. So it sees that there's so much. The pancreas has to pick up slack from what the stomach couldn't manage or couldn't stomach. It has to pick up slack and has to go into overdrive and create more and more enzymes in order to make those food molecules ready for absorption. But at one point, the pancreas is simply not capable of doing that anymore. It's overworked, right? It's stressed out. It's getting tired. And so you can see already there's imbalance that has been created just by simply not having enough stomach acid. And so now the food particles are still too large, but the pancreas doesn't have enough enzymes. And so now the food particles go down further in the digestive tract and are actually ready for absorption, or in the part of the intestine that is now absorbing it. And there's two scenarios that can happen. Number one is the food particles are too large and they're actually damaging your intestinal lining, right? Because your intestinal lining is very fragile, it's very thin. Or the food molecule actually is being absorbed into your bloodstream. However, now what you're creating is an immune response, because the food particles now in your blood are larger than they're supposed to be. I always like to say your immune system looks at everything that comes into your bloodstream, right? Because remember, the digestive tract is still the outside world. Only when it gets absorbed, it's inside of you. So there's scars, and your immune system is very, very active along the intestinal tract lining. And so the immune system gets flagged and there are messages that are saying, hey, there's something is coming in, and it kind of looks like a piece of tomato, but it really isn't, right? So we are quite sure. So then the immune system comes in and says, okay, let's check it out. Wait a second. What is this here? And it kind of starts an inflammatory response against that food particle, really trying to see it as something foreign that needs to be detoxified, right? And so now you see how this can lead into food intolerances that slowly over time, drip by drip by drip, your immune system continues to flag all these food particles and gets an inflammatory response going, which then over years and years and years can create severe imbalances in your body, leading even all the way up to autoimmune disease. So now you see how low stomach acid can create acid reflux, can create the food sitting in your stomach like a rock because your stomach is not acidic enough to break down the food. And if the food is not being broken down appropriately, that can lead to so much more imbalances further down the line, which then also includes your immune response. So I hope that makes sense. It's just really something to think about and to be aware of and to look at the bigger picture, just like in that beautiful fable that I mentioned about the elephant and how we can look at different pieces, but we have to keep the bigger picture in mind, right? And I just also want to mention that so when you use those proton pump inhibitors, that is like a heavy um, weapon really against the stomach, is keep in mind that it has its purpose. So if you suffer from an ulcer, for example, in your stomach, right? So if you have an ulcer and acidity is an issue because you want to heal that ulcer, so you want to completely get rid of the acid for a little while to allow your stomach to heal that ulcer, it's probably not a bad idea to go on the proton pump inhibitor, right? But you're not supposed to stay on the proton pump inhibitors for an extended period of time. You can read on the labels even, it says that you're only supposed to use them for like a few weeks and then you're supposed to stop. However, what I see in this world is that it's just such an easy band-aid approach from so many practitioners to say, oh, okay, acid reflux, here's your proton pump inhibitor. Acid stomach is too high. Let's, bring it all the way down. Let's completely shut it off maybe, so you don't have to deal with that anymore. So I see a lot of people being on those proton pump inhibitors for months, even years sometimes. So it's crazy because proton pump inhibitors shut off the production of hydrochloric acid up to 90%, right? So you're making the environment that is supposed to be acidic, you're making it super alkaline, right? So can you imagine the natural defense system that is your stomach not working anymore and letting in all those bacteria that are on your food naturally that are then overgrowing your microbiome, causing you so much distress, right? So I just wanted to throw that out there as well to be mindful around. So I talked about the symptoms of low stomach acid. Let me just summarize. So you have a rock in your stomach. It feels like you can't digest your food at all. You have a lot of burping, a lot of acid reflux. And typically that is, so here's the distinction. If you have a burping or acid reflux 30 to 40 minutes after you eat your meal, it's a sign of low stomach acid. If you feel that you have acid reflux right away, like with the very first bite that you take, then you might be having a too acidic environment. So if you have food sensitivities, it's a really good indicator that you are also suffering from low stomach acid. Another really good flag is ridges in your nails. So if your nails, sometimes the nails get a little warped. So I used to have really big ridges in my nails. And that is, it's mineral deficiencies. And like I said to you guys, you need hydrochloric acid to pull apart those minerals and make them readily available for absorption. So if you have those ridges in your nails, it's a good indicator that your hydrochloric acid is low. Same with white spots on your nails. Sometimes you get those white spots on your nails. That is a sign of zinc deficiency. And zinc, again, is a mineral that is really, really difficult to absorb because it needs to be liberated from the food in your stomach. Okay, so now I just want to give you a few tips of what you can do in order to bring up your hydrochloric acid, right? Because that's something we want in those scenarios. So number one is, as always, chew your food. I talked about that last week in detail. So use your teeth and your saliva into your mouth in order to already prepare your food for further breakdown in your stomach. The more you chew, the more you will relieve your stomach of having to do more work. Another one is don't drink a copious amounts of water with your meals. That will only lead to diluting the stomach acid while you eat, right? And so you can have a few sips here and there, but make sure to not just gulp down like big glasses of it. So another thing is what I really like, what is really nice is to take 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in a little bit of water before you have your meals. This will really help the acidity to come out more in your stomach area. Or you can even put the apple cider vinegar on your salad. And then what do I have here? Oh yeah, so and then another thing you can do is you can actually do a hydrochloric acid test. You can do a home test. And I'm just going to give you a quick overview of how that works. And then you can decide if that's maybe something that you want to test out and see where your hydrochloric acid levels are at. So what you do is you go to a Whole Foods store, or you go to any supplementation, and any store that has supplementation, and you get hydrochloric acid capsules. They're fairly cheap, right? It's just hydrochloric acid. So you get the capsules, and what you do is with every meal, every big meal that you eat, you start taking 1 capsule of hydrochloric acid. So take 1 capsule with your meal, swallow it, and see if you feel a sensation of warmness or burning in your stomach area. If your stomach feels warm, or if you feel like there's a little bit of burning, your hydrochloric acid levels are amazing. If you don't feel anything, then with your next meal, you go up and you take 2 capsules of the hydrochloric acid with the meal. And then you observe for the same sensation. If you still don't feel anything, then with the next meal, you go up to 3 capsules, and so on and so forth until you hit 7, right? And then you will really see where is my hydrochloric acid level at, right? And then you can continue to take the hydrochloric acid as long as it takes for your stomach to make its own hydrochloric acid again. So just a little bit of a personal story here. Many years ago when I was diagnosed with my Hashimoto's, with my autoimmune, my hydrochloric acid was non-existent, basically. So I had to take 10 hydrochloric acid capsules with every single meal just to get my acid in a position where it was actually able to break down my food. Yes, and so this is it. This is what I wanted to cover today, guys, and talk to you about, and really demystify a little bit around the low versus the high um, stomach acid and what you can do. I hope that was clear and I hope it makes sense. Do you guys have any questions around this? If you do, please comment. I'm just gonna wait a few seconds to see if there's anything coming in. Let me see. Let me read the comments. So true. That's totally me. Yeah. So right, Glenda, and it's something that probably was true for you for so long, you know, and nobody ever told you that, right? And so now it's time to get the hydrochloric acid up and running to bring balance back into your system. Okay. All right. Well, I don't think there's any more questions. So thank you so much, guys, for hanging out with me tonight. I really appreciate you guys coming on here and listening and taking it all in and learning. So, oh, there's one more question. Do you take them before you eat or after the hydrochloric acid? So you take it with your meals. So you have a few forkfuls first, and then take your pill, and then continue to eat your meal. Yeah. So I've been diagnosed with gastritis. Yeah, I know it's tough, right? And so I don't know what your doctor is telling you, you know, with regards to your diagnosis, but I hope that this was helpful for you to take into consideration. Okay, awesome. Well, I will say goodbye to you guys now, and I hope that I will see you next week because next week we're going to go a little deeper in the digestive system and we're going to be talking a little bit about absorption. All right. Thanks so much again, and I will see you next week. Bye.